Hi guys, welcome back to episode 2 of the Social Anxiety Project. I'm Steve.
And I'm Lorna, and this is where two socially anxious people come on camera to talk about social anxiety.
And now I realize I've made the biggest mistake of my entire life.
So to start this one off, we just want to thank everybody who has watched the first video, reached out to us, and also subscribed and followed us on Instagram. It really does mean a lot, so thank you.
It's just been lovely to get feedback and to know that we're actually reaching out to people as well, because we kind of put ourselves out there not knowing how many people would view our videos and who would actually watch them, if anyone. So it's been nice to know that people are actually watching them and they're actually making a difference already just from video number 1.
If you haven't seen the first video, we do recommend you check it out. Probably before this one, so check that one out first and get back here.
So this week we're going to be touching upon the main coping mechanisms that we use to deal with social anxiety, and in some ways these are good because they help you get through everyday life and they help you deal with and cope with what you're going through, but in a lot of ways these can be also very negative because they encourage you to hide away from the world and they encourage you not to push out your comfort zone. And they can lead to quite destructive long-term effects of social anxiety as well. So we're keen just to touch upon some of those. I know me and Steve have talked and we've got different things that we found that we've used over the years that have helped us get through things. So mine are a little bit different to some of the things that Steve's used over the years. So it'll be quite interesting to see the differences. So firstly, I just want to touch upon the difference because I think there's kind of coping strategies and coping mechanisms. Coping strategies tend to be more an avoidance of situations. So the anxiety is kind of so strong that you almost just don't want to even put yourself in the situation and you'll kind of hide away and just completely avoid going into situations basically. And Steve, I know you've kind of experienced this more from kind of what you've said to me, so do you want to maybe touch upon that first and then I'll go into the coping mechanisms that I've experienced? Or
Coping strategies were a big thing for me as opposed to like what you're going to talk about in coping mechanisms. I would just avoid sort of situations as much as possible. I remember I had to go out to work. So I would go out to work and I'd try and do all my shopping and everything while I was out at work so that when I finished work, I could get home, shut the door, shut the blinds and just kind of isolate myself at home on my own and just block the world out completely. And that was the safest way for me to deal with it. And so social anxiety is about like finding comfort. And for me, that's where I felt most comfortable. Like I spoke in the previous video we're done. It's sad as well, and it's lonely, but it was the better out of the two, like being outside, being where people could see me, sort of thing. Yeah, I would hide away. So I'm going to give the definition of what a coping mechanism is, and what it says here on Google is it is a psychological strategy or adaptation that a person relies on to manage stress. Now, coping mechanisms are synonymous with social anxiety, but everybody's are going to be different. And I only kind of realized that since me and Lorna have been talking and realized how, although we both suffer from social anxiety, the coping mechanisms that we've employed to get through day-to-day life and each social situation have been very different at times.
Right, so I'm just going to give a few examples of coping mechanisms that we've kind of used over the years. So the first one I've got down is you kind of, when you're in social situations, you'll maybe sit in places where you'll be less seen. So I guess going into things like cafes and restaurants, I would naturally choose somewhere that kind of was on the outside of the room. I would never choose to sit somewhere where I was in the middle of the restaurant or the cafe where all the attention would feel like it was on me. So walking into somewhere, I'd instantly start kind of like looking, is there a space at the edge of the room where I can sit just so there's less attention on me as possible. Another one is, I think, because you're so keen to detract attention away from yourself, you'll wear clothing which doesn't bring attention to you. So I know a lot of people who suffer from social anxiety will choose to wear black, which I am wearing right now. I'm supposed to have overcome social anxiety and I'm wearing black, but you know. So yeah, I have been guilty of wearing clothing that'll detract attention away from myself. I don't really choose to wear bright colours or anything too garish or things that'll stand out. I just like to kind of blend into the background, so that'll kind of be another thing that I've used over the years. I'm very, very good at detracting attention away from myself. So if I'm in a social situation, I'm very good at putting questions onto other people. I don't like attention to be on me. I don't like to be the center of attention. So if I'm in conversation, a lot of the time I'll be the person who's asking questions, or I am genuinely interested in other people anyway, so that comes naturally to me, but I'll kind of ask other people questions. And if there's a situation where the attention comes onto me and people ask me how my day's been or how my week's been or what's going on with my life, I will often cut things short. I won't go into any great detail. I won't explain necessarily how I would like to explain things, and I'll just kind of cut things short and initially just feel all of that anxiety. As soon as the attention's on me, all of the physical symptoms of anxiety will just start building up, and I'll just kind of want to throw the attention back onto somebody else. So I'm very, very good at asking questions, and I think I've become so good at that people don't even realise that I suffer from social anxiety. And kind of just throwing in comments here and there so that I don't appear to be being really quiet, but I'm kind of chipping in little comments, but I don't necessarily have moments where I'll tell a story or I'll go into great depth about me or tell a story about myself, kind of thing. Which is a real shame, because, you know, why shouldn't you be able to tell somebody about your day or tell somebody a story about yourself or something that happened to you last week? Or it's really sad that you don't feel like you're worthy enough for the people to listen to what you have to say. It's almost like you're so worried that people are just going to find what you have to say boring or you're not interested, and you're not worthy enough to be listened to. So you just kind of think, well, forget it, I'll just cut it short and pass the attention on to somebody else. So that's kind of been my main number one coping mechanism, I would say, that I've used over the years.
In conversation, this is where we differ, isn't it? We've talked about this quite a lot. In conversations and stuff, whether it be one-on-one or in group scenarios, I'm petrified of the awkward silence. So I tend to find myself over talking and often waffling on and not talking about what we first started talking about. Because I'm petrified of I don't know, maybe the conversation dying with me and then people thinking that I'm not interested or didn't have anything to offer the conversation or was boring or whatever. So I kind of then just keep on talking so that there is no silence until there's just nobody standing there anymore, and it's like it's over. So it's funny how we differ so much in that respect.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely have a fear of awkward silences as well. That's definitely there. But I think I kind of deal with it a bit differently, that I don't kind of just talk and try to fill the silences. I'm just always in my head thinking about ahead of time, like thinking, what can I say next? Or, you know, almost trying to pre-plan things that I can talk about or the things that I can say, so that when the other person's talking, that won't even necessarily be fully listening, I suppose, because I'm in my head caught up in things that I can maybe say next or after that, and trying to get ahead of myself so that the awkward silence doesn't come. Yeah. So the fear of awkward silence is very much there for both of us, but I guess we kind of maybe deal with it in different ways. So another one is avoidance of situations where you might potentially do something wrong and draw attention to yourself and then look stupid or just totally embarrass yourself. So Steve, I know you told me a great story the week about Mackie D's. Do you want to give us a little sample of that story? Or?
Yeah. Thanks for that. Yeah. Yeah. So when I was a bit younger, or a lot younger, when I first passed my driving test, I used to go to McDonald's all the time. Rather than go through the drive-through, I used to park. I used to park the car up and walk into McDonald's, but I didn't just park in the McDonald's car park. I would park like round the corner at the Wicks car park and walk. Yeah, and walk round to McDonald's because I was absolutely petrified of going through McDonald's, putting my order in at the first window, and then as you drive to the next window, I was petrified that I was going to stall my car and look like an idiot. So I would park and walk to McDonald's instead. So thanks.
So I guess another coping mechanism is avoidance of situations, but I only realized that I had this fear entering into maybe my early to mid 20s, I would say. And I kind of developed a fear of taking things back to shops. And I think the main fear behind that was kind of the fear of being watched when I was, like the little slip that you have to fill in when you take something back, where you have to write your name and address and do your signature. Like, it was the fear of being watched, someone's attention being on me whilst I was doing it. And all of this fear just came from nowhere. So there was a couple of occasions where I had to take things back to shops, and yeah, I'd just get like crazy handshake. I'd be filling in the piece of paper to write my name and address and fill my signature, and my hand would just be like going crazy. So nervous and shaky that I couldn't even write my name, like ridiculous. And there was also a situation where I went to stay in a hotel, and often when you go and stay in a hotel, they ask you to fill in a little bit of information when you check in. You have to write your car registration down, and all of a sudden, because I knew that I had to do this, like, I could feel the anxiety building inside of me, thinking, oh my God, I'm going to have to write in front of this person, and what happens if this happens again and my hand gets really shaky? What am I going to do? So all the anxiety was building up. And it came to writing on the piece of paper, and my hand again just went crazy. So I was trying to write my name and address and everything down, and I physically couldn't write because my hand was like a quivering wreck. And I'm just in this situation thinking, what the hell am I going to do here? Because this person thinks I'm literally crazy. So I even had to make up a lie, and I just said to them, I said, yeah, I'm really sorry. I recently broke my wrist, and my hand's just not back to normal. I've still got a really weak wrist, and I can't write properly. So they had to fill in the form for me because I couldn't write because my hand was shaking that much.
Brilliant.
And I can laugh about it now, and we can laugh about it because you look back and you think, oh my God, like, how ridiculous. It's so embarrassing. But because I had those couple of experiences in shops and in different situations, that just made the fear even worse. So it got to the point where it then led into avoidance behavior, and it got to the point where I did avoid taking things back to shops, and any situation where I'd be in where that would be the case, I tried to avoid, because I was so scared that it was going to happen again because it was so embarrassing. Yeah. So there has been situations since then where I've needed to take things back to shops, and I've actually asked friends to do it for me because I'm so scared that it's going to happen again. And not only that, but because when I take something back to a shop, I'm so worried that they're going to notice that my hand's shaking. I'm worried that got Molly in the background there. I worry that I'm dodgy as well, because if I'm so nervous and anxious and shaken, I think, are they going to think I'm like some kind of dodgy shoplifter and try to like steal things? So that's like another extra anxiety on top of that. So I just try to avoid it where possible and just don't even take things back, or I'll try and get a friend to do it for me.
I can relate to that massively. I've been in situations where I don't like trying clothes on because I feel like I'm gonna be the center of attention because then I have to like look in mirrors and stuff, and I hate that.
Mm.
So I don't even try it on. I'll look at a pair of jeans and see what the size is. Yep, that should fit. That's fine, or a t-shirt or whatever. And then I'll get home, and then they don't fit. But then I don't want to take them back. So I had a wardrobe full of clothes in the past that I've never worn before and couldn't wear because they don't fit. But I don't take them back. I've spent fortunes in the past on clothes that have just never been worn before. And
But when saying that, your reason for that's a little bit different, so that you're scared of coming across as if you don't want to make a complaint or cause any trouble. Because I know you mentioned that you even don't like sending things back online.
yeah, I don't like. Yeah, it's weird. Well, we have spoken about that, haven't we? Like in the past, I haven't sent something back online, and it's a fear that they're going to think that I'm complaining, that I'm that I'm not like great or something like that.
So I'm just going to list a few more examples of some coping mechanisms, and I'll try not to put Steve on the spot anymore. So another one that I've found over the years is I tend to use confident friends as a bit of a comfort blanket. So because I'm so nervous of awkward silences or running out of conversation or being in a situation where conversation does run out and worrying about what to say, often friends that I've had who are very confident and outgoing, I kind of rely on them almost as like a little bit of a comfort blanket, because I know if I'm around them that they're always going to keep the conversation flowing, and I kind of can almost relax a little bit more in the situation. And certainly in, you know, situations like parties and going to the pub and things like that, it does just take away a lot of the pressure, and you can kind of relax and enjoy it a bit more because you're kind of not worrying that you're the only person that can make conversation. There's other people that can bring elements to the conversation as well. So that's been another coping mechanism for me. Another one is I don't like to go to places where maybe there will be an opportunity for more attention to be on me. For example, like going to gyms or swimming pools. Like I've always had a big fear of the gym because I just think it's a situation where you feel like maybe people are watching you, you're not doing things right, you can easily cock up and do something stupid or make yourself look like a complete idiot. So yeah, it's just situations where I guess you're in a public place and you could potentially draw any kind of attention to yourself, or just do something wrong and just make yourself look like an idiot. It's kind of like avoidance of anything like that. I've also found before, certainly gone through school and university and then on into workplaces, I've struggled to sort of speak out in situations, whether it be in front of a class or in a seminar, going through university, and then, you know, in meetings at work. There's often been times where I've maybe felt like I've had something to say or I want to contribute, and I almost feel like I haven't been able to do that because I'm so scared that I'm going to say something wrong or say something stupid, or someone's going to disagree with what I've got to say. And or what I say just doesn't come across right, or I can't articulate it properly. And because there's such a strong fear there, like it just stops you from speaking up. So you just decide not even to bother or just to sit quietly. And it's a real shame because, you know, what you've got to say shouldn't be less worthy than the next person. You know, your opinion should matter, you know, just as much as the next person's. And it's just a real shame that you feel like what you've got to say isn't worthy enough. And you're so scared that it's going to go wrong or come out stupidly that you just prefer to sit back and not say anything at all. So there's certainly been so many times throughout my lifetime where I've just simply kept my opinion to myself and I've not spoken up. And yeah, that's been another one. It's just a fear of judgment, I guess. Right, so I'm just going to mention a couple of other examples as well. So I know we've talked about this, Steve. I know we're quite different in this respect, like particularly just an example of doing this video, like I wanted to be quite prepared in what I was going to say and have my examples at the ready, because I'm so used to thinking about what to say in advance so that I don't sound stupid, that I want to be very prepared. But I know you've said that you kind of think differently and that you prefer to just not be prepared in terms of, yeah, just throw yourself in the deep end so that you don't have to.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for pointing out million viewers there. So yeah, you're very prepared, where I just turn up on the day and just talk a lot of nonsense, basically. That's how I get through.
One final coping mechanism that I just wanted to touch upon, which I think is a very common one, and I think a lot of people who suffer from social anxiety use this, and that's the use of alcohol. I mean, I guess it's pretty obvious that using alcohol makes you relax more in situations, it gives you more confidence. And I think, generally a lot of people use alcohol for those things anyway, even if you're not suffering from social anxiety. But I think those who do suffer will use this even more as a tool, because you're so anxious in social situations that this instantly removes any anxious symptoms or feelings, before you go into the situation and when you're in the situation. So I think a lot of people use alcohol as a form of relief to help themselves. And I know it's certainly something that I used sort of going through late teens, going into university, and certainly through my early 20s. It was something I very much relied on to help myself in social situations, and just to make things easier, and just to be able to relax and enjoy things more. So yeah, I think leading on from that, Steve's going to now maybe talk about the longer term effects that coping mechanisms do have on your life, and how they impact you in various aspects of your life, I guess.
So if you think about what the coping mechanisms are, effectively, it's about keeping you in comfort, keeping you safe from perceived danger. That's what anxiety is, essentially. So the longer you remain in that state of comfort, the less you are going to grow, like, fundamentally. So one of the long-term effects it can have is like underdeveloped social skills. So that can affect like conversational skills, like conversation cues, listening skills. It affects like all of these things, because you've shied away from them. And when you've been involved in these social interactions, a lot of the time you're not even present in them, because you're thinking about what you've got to say coming up, or what you've already said and you're putting yourself down for. So you're missing what's actually going on, which falls into it kind of affect your memory as well.
I think it's quite well known that anxiety affects memory. I guess when you think about it, if you're in the flight or fight mode quite a lot of the time, it's going to affect that memory function part of your brain, because you're not functioning like a normal person. You're not present in the situation. You're not absorbing and listening and taking in the information like potentially another person would be. You're constantly in your mind thinking about things, or ruminating or worrying about what you're going to say, so you're not necessarily taking the information like somebody else might be in that situation. So I know that's really affected me a lot throughout my life. I find it quite hard at times to
remember what you're going to say.
Yes, exactly that.
No, but yes, like I know it's affected me massively with memory, and I guess that's part of the reason why I don't like to prepare for things, because I know it puts a lot of pressure on myself to have to try and remember things, and I struggle massively with memory. So especially when I'm
not necessarily when you're in situations of talking, it's like just being able to maintain and remember factual information, or maybe knowledge that you've kind of learned through, for example, school or through university. I personally find it hard to retain information and to remember and be able to regurgitate maybe facts or different things that I've learned, because I think, yeah, when you have been in the situation of learning, if you are in that anxious mind, you won't naturally absorb the information as much as maybe somebody else would.
Yeah.
So that's been a big factor for me, and that's then impacted on maybe not feeling like I'm intelligent or good enough because I've maybe not been able to explain or articulate things well enough because my memory just won't bloody work. And it can be so frustrating because you almost know what you want to talk about and explain, and your memory just won't bring the words or articulate things, in the way that you want it to.
Yeah.
So that's been quite a big and frustrating one for me, and it's affected me both with short-term and long-term memory throughout my whole life.
Another long-term effect of coping mechanisms we're going to talk about is the impact it has on relationships, whether that be like platonic friendships or romantic relationships. It can have a huge effect on all relationships, and social anxiety and your coping mechanisms that you employ can make you very codependent on in romantic relationships, especially codependent on the people that you're with. You kind of rely on them to do a lot of things for you and almost keep you safe from what it is you're fearing in the outside world or outside of your own head anyway. So
no, absolutely, I can relate to that. I know, looking back in some of my situations, like when I was in a long-term relationship, I was very reliant, and there were certain things that I was scared to do. Instead of pushing out my comfort zone to do those things, my ex-partner would do those things for me. And I know I had a big fear of learning to drive for a lot of years, and I've kind of just relied on my ex-partner to drive me places and just to do that on my behalf because I was simply too scared to face it. So it can, you can develop very strong reliance on other people just simply to avoid doing things. And obviously the people that are around you that love you want to do these things for you. It comes from a place of love and a place of care. But then at the same time, I think what people don't realize that it is ultimately holding you back, and it's stopping you from facing your fears and stopping you from stepping outside your comfort zone and doing these things for yourself.
Yeah.
So there almost has to be a slight element of tough love with people that are in your life that want to help you, because the more that people do things for you, yes, it does come from a place of love, but ultimately, if you want to help that person, you do kind of have to encourage them to push themselves to go outside of their comfort zone as well.
Yeah, well, we've spoken about this a lot, haven't we? How your comfort zone, although it may be comfortable, it holds you back. You do not grow in your comfort zone, and we kind of live by that motto now, isn't it? Seek discomfort, which comes from a channel we both watch called Yes Theory, but it is fundamentally about seeking discomfort and living in discomfort. And me and Laura are both very passionate about that, hence why we are sat here putting our faces on this screen. So
yeah, which actually leads on to one of the other key points that I want to touch upon. I think one of the saddest things in terms of the longer term effects that social anxiety and the coping mechanisms have is that they ultimately stop you from fully enjoying your life and reaching your full potential. So, they often means spending a lot of time alone and stay in your comfort zone, so you don't kind of push yourself to achieve things that you may want to achieve, or to go out there and do hobbies that you might want to try, or all these different things that you might want to do with your life. It really stops you from doing those things, and it stops you from growing as a person. And I think ultimately that's the saddest thing about social anxiety, is you can't truly be fully yourself because there's that much fear within you that it stops you from doing so many things.
Yeah.
And I think that's the main reason for me doing this, is because I want people to help people reach their full potential and to live a life where they feel more empowered to be the person that they want to be, and to enjoy life, and to not live a life just in fear and anxiety all of the time. It's just a really, really awful place to be. And for me, that's the biggest driver for doing this social anxiety project, and to try and help other people.
We want to push people to seek discomfort.
Yes, that is our hashtag, seek discomfort.
Just one thing I want to touch on that I think we missed in the like relationships with people.
Mhm.
I don't know if you found this, but I know a lot of people that I've spoke to in the social anxiety community. Can we call it? Yeah. Is that you tend to push people away a lot, like friends, family, relationships, through fear of being left alone, and that comes from the fear of not being good enough all the time. But yeah, you push people away so that you can't be left. It sounds ridiculous, like when you rationally think about it, which isn't great for people with social anxiety to do, because even when you do that, it doesn't make a difference. But the rational part is, well, that's just ridiculous. You're losing something regardless. But yeah, you push people away to save the embarrassment maybe of losing somebody. So you cause like fallouts with like family members or friends or whatever, um, as almost a reason to disconnect with them people because you fear and lose through not being good enough.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. I think certainly from speaking from my experience, when I've maybe been building up new friendships, it's almost like I really worry. I'm thinking, well, do these people really want to spend time around me? Do they think I'm boring? I just all that fear, all those thinking of just don't feel good enough. So one final long-term effect that we want to just briefly touch upon with regards to the coping mechanisms. We've briefly touched upon it before with regards to alcohol, but I guess this can be other addictive behaviors. It can be alcohol, it can be drugs, it can be maybe overeating, it can be various different addictive behaviors that you can use to sort of comfort yourself and to hide away from social anxiety. But ultimately, these can lead on to even more severe problems, and maybe depression or more severe mental health issues. And I guess that's why it's so important to highlight, why it's so important to try and to tackle a place where it's no, that wasn't. It was just the end. Gonna sound right.
I know you've lost where you were going there, Lorna, but you're absolutely right. And a lot of research is going into social anxiety now. Better late than never, I suppose, because in most mental health, I suppose, like in the statistics of mental health, most mental health issues have at the root of them social anxiety, when they are broken down, and it is being kind of seen now and discovered that social anxiety is at the root of a lot of more major problems, like you said, depression and more severe mental health problems, and a lot of addictive problems as well stem from undiagnosed social anxiety. So a big part of the reason why we do this is because we want to help raise awareness of social anxiety and what it is, and help people identify it before it becomes more severe and becomes something else. And there's a lot of other issues that go along with social anxiety, but if you can stop it before it gets it, you've got a better chance of living your best life.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, hit the nail on the head.
So yeah, as you can see, it is getting dark. So we are going to wrap it up now. Thank you all for watching, those of you that have made it to the end of this one as well. We really, really do appreciate it. Again, you can follow us on Instagram for the time spent in between our videos, and it's always better to communicate with us on there. It's the comment section in YouTube isn't great, so any messages, please get in touch with us on our Instagram. The link is down there. So yeah, Lorna.
No, yeah, just similarly, just a big thank you from me for anyone who's made it to the end and who's listened. And again, just if anyone feels the need to reach out, if anyone relates to this or just wants to drop us a message, please do, because it really means a lot to us, and it encourages just to move forward, knowing that we are reaching people and people are actually watching this and it's making an impact. So we really do appreciate any interaction. And yeah, I think moving forward, we've even talked about potentially bringing other people onto the videos, potentially speaking to some professionals along the way as well, just to make things a little bit more interesting. And I know we mentioned in the last video, potentially just doing little challenges to push out our comfort zone. So in videos to come, we are hoping to bring a little bit more fun and push out our comfort zones a little bit more. And yeah, it would be great if you could follow us on Instagram and just follow our journey.
I just want to say as well, this does always come from myself and Lorna's experiences, but we do welcome anybody to get in touch and share your experiences with us, whether it be funny stories about like we've shared tonight here, or just anything at all you want to share that you wouldn't mind us talking about. And obviously it can remain anonymous, but we do welcome anybody's input into this. After all, it is a community that we want to build where people feel part of, so please get in touch with your own experiences as well.
Yeah, I think it's important just to mention at the end there as well, I know we touched upon the last video, just a quick disclaimer that neither of us are professionals in the field of, you know, psychology, mental health. So just to get that out there, we can't give professional advice, but we're very much here on a more personal basis. We've been through social anxiety. We can give our more personal accounts and how it's affected us. And I guess that makes us more relatable. So we just want to make sure that people are aware that we're not professionals. We can't give professional guidance. So if anyone is seeking more professional support, please do seek that elsewhere.
Yeah, but please get in touch and we can point you in the right direction as far as that goes as well. I know that it can be very overwhelming trying to reach out and find the right help. So by all means, get in touch and we can definitely point you in the right direction.
Mm-hmm.
So
I guess video number 2 done.
Video number 2 done. So thanks again, everyone, for watching, and we will catch you on the next one. Goodbye for now.
Bye.
Yay! It's a